What is up, guys? It's me, Traveling Sista, and I am here. I have a special treat for you today. I am here with my good homie Karim. We actually met on social media, and it's another American person out here in Tanzania trying to make it happen, y'all. So, without further ado, Karim, please introduce yourself.
Okay, peace. My name is Karim Mustafa. I have a YouTube channel, very small YouTube channel. I'm originally from the Boston area in Massachusetts, and I've been here in Tanzania, Karatu, Tanzania for the past 3 years. My company is called Gilala High 360. We're a tented safari lodge here in Karatu. Karatu is the name of the district. Within this district is a village called Rotia. Rotia is actually my father's birthplace. So I was born in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I've been here for the past 3 years, settled in, working on this business. It's Gilala High 360. You can check us out at gilalahigh360.com. And yeah, that's kind of an introduction to my story. Like she said, trying to make it happen. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I just want to, I really wanted to do this video because we don't see a lot of Americans here. And I just wanted to know what drove you to come out here. Like, was there like a final point where you're like, okay, no, I need to go out here, or was this like a lifelong type of thing?
Yeah, I can't say this was a lifelong type of thing. Since my father's originally from this area, there's always been curiosity that has grown to know more about Africa. You know what I mean? Starting at age 4. Knowing the initial impression of Africa is unknown. I don't want to say negative, but just really unknown. And I visited the first time when I was 19, and since that time, it's really the environment what attracted me to come back. The natural environment, being a rural environment outside of the urban environment, that's my main attraction to this area. You can see it's a nice area out here.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. About 15 years ago was the first time I visited. And since then, yeah, slowly I've been working in America, working in restaurants, knowing that the hospitality industry here is one of the thriving industries. It's one of the businesses a lot of people are into. So yeah, now I'm in that industry, looking to better myself that way.
Okay, I feel it. So you had kind of a plan to, come out here and see what it really was about, despite what the media or what the portrayal of Africa is.
Yeah.
And that's a reason I came out here too. One of the reasons I came out here to see what it actually was like. So, thinking about like the media and the things that they portray about just Africa as a whole, how do you view Tanzania? Do you feel like it's anything close to what they put on the media about Africa as a whole, or like?
I think that's a great question. A great question. And for me, one thing is that I haven't been paying attention to mainstream Western world media for a long time, so I don't know exactly what the idea is now. Like I said, I first visited Africa 15 years ago, so that was when I kind of stopped paying attention to the Western world media. There's as much. So yeah, I think that's a great question. And for me, it's like the best way I can answer that, and being without too much specific details, it would be hard for me to try to explain the specific details. But the one thing I can say is that the overall portrayal of Africa within the Western world is very narrow. It's not the full picture of the true history of Africa, the history of the world. Like, it's a very big continent, and there's a very long history before the history that's been presented through that
Pre-colonialism.
Yeah. Like, that whole history is, I could never try. It's more than any one person could ever really elaborate on. You know what I mean? So there's so many different untold stories. There's so many of them. So that's one thing that being here has helped me to realize within myself how old of a story there is before the latest Eurocentric story that's now being told as if it's the world history. No, there's an old, long world.
Thousands of years.
Yeah, who knows how many years. So that's one of the things that being here is helping me to realize. And then Tanzania specifically, yeah, you know, it's definitely still the developing world.
Right.
So it's in terms of, yeah, there's definitely more work to do modernizing the cities. But even for me, I like being out here in the rural area. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes being out here feels like there's less work to do. Like just let the green stay green.
Yeah. Let nature do its thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally feel that. So coming from America, I know there's things that I do miss about America. Like, is there something that you miss about America?
Yeah, but not too much. I mean, you know, just I'm definitely embracing, like, I like it out here, so I'm embracing that and finding ways to embrace that. A lot of that is just positive mental attitude, trying to maintain a positive mental attitude.
PMA, yep.
Yeah, so a lot of it is that, but if I was going to say if there's something that I miss or that the culture shock, the thing about the culture shock is I experienced it for the first time before actually deciding to move here. But the culture shock, yeah, just the convenience and the variety as a consumer.
Yeah.
How many different types of things can you buy in America? It's not what you can buy out here. Your options are limited when it comes to everything, like where to live, what to eat, what to wear. Your options are limited. It's not the same as America at all. But adjusting to that is like is one of the major culture shocks, I feel.
That's been one of my hardest ones, to be completely honest. And when you really think about it, those things aren't that important.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, we've gotten used to them. So that's, you know, the microwave culture or whatever, the fast food microwave. We've gotten used to it, but yeah, learning that it's not so important is part of the adjustment. So
I agree. I do have another question. So, okay, since you've moved out here in what 2000, well, 3 years ago. What has been your biggest challenge so far, whether it's adjusting or like in the whole move and adjusting? What has been your biggest challenge?
Okay. For me, that's kind of like within the past 3 years of my life. Obviously, the main component is this relocating to a new environment, a new continent, a new country. That's a major external situation I'm growing through, but more also inwardly and personal wise, it's kind of like within this culture shock, learning to really find myself and not allow myself to become stagnant. Like we were talking about yesterday, that like the culture here is definitely a slower pace of life. And I think being able to realize and learn that that's what the natural rhythm of life is, a little bit slower than what we're used to in the Western world. Being able to find that adjustment and still be able to balance and not have myself become idle or stagnant, even just within my mind. Like, let's say I'm here trying to get a business started. I got to keep my mind busy. That's how the busyness gets busy. So being able, just because my external might be slower, I need to keep my mind busy and yeah, so doing that without necessarily having a job to show up to every day. I have a job to show up to, but you know, the business is still bringing it from here to here. It's like, so yeah, that's been my personal challenge. Yeah, for sure.
I can say that I can totally agree with that. Like, that is a challenge. Like, not having a job to get up to go to every day and trying to be productive enough in my own mind and externally to not be stagnant and to still have growth, because you know my plan wasn't to come out here and hey, I'm free, I don't have to do anything, you know what I'm saying? I came out here to make moves, and it is hard because of the pace of life out here. It is much slower, and it's easy to relax. It's so easy to relax, and
I think also, and to not want to be too drawn into this idea of acquiring material wealth. Like that's what we've been taught in America, that that's our reason for why we should be making moves. But really it's like you want to just keep your mind busy and not stagnant, and the external material effects of that isn't the cause of staying busy.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And like maybe a month and a half to 2 months before I actually made the move out here, I was gonna get a container and ship all of my stuff that I had out here. And I was looking at the stuff and I was just like, actually, I can either buy this stuff back over there, or this is stuff that I just don't need. A bunch of clothes, a bunch of shoes, a bunch of knickknacks and stuff that, material things that I didn't need. And I gave away everything, and I packed my whole life down into like 2 suitcases and a camera bag. And, and that was another thing too, is like, I didn't want to come over here just to start accumulating more things like that I just didn't need. And I kind of did like a cleansing of my life when I gave away all these things that I was so attached to, that I thought that ultimately were defining who I was, basically. In long story short, it was kind of defining me, and I didn't like that. And so yeah,
I can relate to that.
Yep. But I don't know. It has been a challenge for me as well, adjusting to the pace of life and adjusting to, a few other things.
Yeah.
So and it's like if you're out here and it's something that you can't readily get, you learn how to make it, or do without.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Since you've been out here, what has been the easiest thing to adapt to?
I mean, the challenge is also not that it's been easy, but it's been something I'm appreciating. Feeling that, especially just that, like I've escaped all that like busy schedule, like that unnecessary. This does feel like a more natural way of life. This type of slow pace of life. Trying to adjust to that. So it's kind of like just learning how to adjust to it. It's challenging, but it's also, I don't want to say easy, but enjoyable.
Cool. And I'm going to roll right into the next question. Like, so what is the biggest thing that you've learned about yourself thus far? Being here 3 years.
I'm going to need time to think about that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, while you're thinking, I'm gonna say like something that I've learned about myself and that I'm still learning so far is patience. And not necessarily with the people out here or even the lifestyle, because I feel like, I'm not Tanzanian. I'm a visitor in your environment, and so y'all have to be patient with me. And I also have to be patient with myself. Like, I might get frustrated sometimes if the power goes out, or, the shakiness of the internet, like, just little things. And I have to kind of pull back on myself. Like, okay, you did all this preaching about how you want a more natural lifestyle and you want this, that, and the other. And yet here you are being impatient and being, I don't even want to say intolerant, but getting frustrated at just certain situations. And patience is just a big thing for me. Like, I was always the type of person, if I want it, I want it now, and I'm going to get it now. And I kind of, blame that on American society. It's just, like you said, microwave society. Like, everything is fast. And
yeah, I can absolutely relate to that.
Yeah.
I can relate to that, Kabisa, completely.
Yep. So that's one of my things that I'm working on every day.
Yeah. And like you said, learning patience with ourselves.
Yeah.
I get frustrated at times too, and I'm trying, and then I also realize that that is also my conditioning from growing up in America. That's making me like, why is there,
Yeah.
why is everything so slow? Why is everything?
Why?
No one seems to care about.
Why is the customer service? Why is this? Why is that? Yeah.
So it's a lot of laid back attitudes out here, and even in America, I thought I had a laid back attitude, and now I'm finding, oh yeah, like there's layers to how laid back you can be.
Yeah, there's levels to this.
Oh man. Another thing, just being able to say if I've learned anything about myself is after 3 years being here, anything that I've learned about myself is just an appreciation for being a descendant of African, or being of African descent. It's a lot more expansive and in depth, and there's a lot more layers than anything I was previously conditioned to know about. Like even being exposed to Afrocentric perspectives or ideologies from being in America, it's kind of like, it's just there's more to it. Yeah, and I'm definitely, that's part of my experience, is learning that about myself. To now, I feel like I could never try to explain the African history, or you know, yeah, what we've been led to believe about the world from an American perspective at this point is very narrow. There's a lot more. So I'm being able to realize that as something I've been learning about myself.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with that. Yeah. And I want to add on to that. Like, one thing. Okay, so the difference between, from what I've observed, okay, in America, I was very much into African history, Black history in general, no matter whether it was African or, you know, what part of the diaspora it came from, just Black history. And as a Black American, I felt like a lot of history about Africa was romanticized, in that we kind of played it. I don't even want to say played it up, but well, at least I had a completely different image. In a lot of people who were, I guess, considered very pro-Black, my other friends, Afrocentric or whatever, like, they had a very different image in the conversations we had about what Africa could possibly be like. Even before I decided to move out here, it was very different. And I noticed that 99% of the time, when my friends and I would start talking about African history, the first thing that would come up, it wouldn't be, you know, West African, it wouldn't be, you know, different parts of the motherland. It would mainly go straight to Egypt and ancient Egyptian history. Not saying that that's not African history, which it very much so is, but what a lot of people fail to realize is that Egypt has a very heavy Arab influence. So I don't know. I can go on and on about that part, but something that I have noticed is that the perceptions as conscious Black people, you know, in America, the conversation is very different from the reality of what it really is. And that's just something that I'm picking up on so far.
Yeah, I just think one of the main, I'll add on as well again, one of the main components to what you're explaining right there is Africa is such a big place, and there's so many people here.
Yeah.
There's so many different cultures and tribes and stories. So this is a big continent with a very long, old history, and there's so much information and stories that have been destroyed or hidden from us.
Yep.
So the full story is so extensive, more so than we really know, or what we really think about in America. I feel like it doesn't matter how many books anyone's read, it's like no one person can tell the whole story. It's a really old story that has been condensed and shortened since whatever European colonization of the globe. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's something I've been able to learn a lot learn a lot about and be able to realize within myself the past 3 years.
So have you been to other places in Africa, like any other countries?
I haven't, and I really want to see Tanzania, but I've been thinking about that more. You know, Africa is so big; there's so much to see that there's no need to limit oneself. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? So
yeah, I'm gonna slowly but surely make my way around this continent, and I wanna go to every country in Africa. That's gonna take some years, but
Kabisa.
yeah, it's gonna happen though. But yeah, that's just it. I don't know. Do you have any? Oh, I did have a question. Do you have any advice for someone who wants to possibly relocate here to Tanzania? Like, what would you say?
For Tanzania specifically, it's hard for me to give advice because my situation is like personal to me. But so any advice I try to give is be very generalized. But find some entrepreneurial type of ambitions within yourself, and that'd be the main thing. And just think of skills that are in demand, working with your hands, being creative, finding things like that, finding different ways to make yourself useful or valuable. It's developing, the economy is the developing world economy. That's something that's different. So yeah, finding different ways to find work for yourself. It's not the same as in America where you can just go out and apply for jobs. There's probably be more competitive, and you want to make yourself in demand somehow.
I agree. I would agree with that. And one thing I do wish that I had done before I came out here is visit first.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely visit first. Don't believe all the hype that they put on the media, in the media about Africa in general.
Yeah, that's something that I visited 15 years before deciding to relocate. So that's what I had an idea of what I was getting into. So that's a great idea. Visit more than one place.
Yeah, true. Well, that's it for the interview, unless you have anything else you want to...
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's it. And thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Peace.